So the answer to the question, which is an excellent one, which is, okay, we've got your vision. We know where it is that you want to get to. How are you going to get there? And that's what this recovery and reinvestment plan is all about. When you take the agriculture, for example, and what it's going to take to move from plantation era into entrepreneurial agriculture, what we do as governor and lieutenant governor, what we do on the executive side is we're going to set the policy that says that's what's going to happen. Then we move to the department levels within the confines of what we have right now and say, we're going to work with you to see that that gets implemented, that those policies get implemented. We're going to reorient, we're going to reprioritize, and that's what we're going to work with. We believe there is more than sufficient funds to be able to do that in virtually every area. What it takes is a team that's going to be able to get in there, dig into the budget, and see to it how we put our basic goals, our basic mission, our basic values into the priorities within the dollars and revenue that we have. Use that as the foundation, the kickoff, if you will, that's going to see reinvestment dollars come in and supplement and complement that.
The state used nearly $1 billion of stimulus money to balance the budget that we're in now. We're going to wrap up in June. You guys keep talking about this maximizing federal money. Where's this money coming from? There's not a second stimulus on the horizon. You guys have yet to identify where this source of federal money that's untapped is sitting out there.
Quite the opposite. The federal dollars we haven't remotely, there's at least $500 million that's allocated for Hawaii right now that hasn't been spent yet. We intend not only to move into that area, but to see to it that we set priorities which maximize the utilization of it. I've mentioned the School of Public Health, for example. There's, I would say, well, $8 to $10, $12 million, depending on the configuration the university comes up with, that we simply haven't utilized because we're not taking advantage of the opportunity to make an investment now that's going to pay dividends in the future. So we're going to look into areas like that, or the residency program over in Hilo for the John Burns School of Medicine. There are dollars and funds available to see to it that we can expand community health centers, so especially in rural areas. Hawaii is a rural state. Aside from the urban core that we're in right now on the Honolulu leeward side of the Oahu coast, this is essentially a rural state, including the rest of the island of Oahu. We're not maximizing the opportunity to use those dollars at all. So we think that by reaching out into the various areas where there are existing loan possibilities, existing stimulus money that hasn't been utilized yet, by working in those areas, we know that we're not only going to be able to keep the programs going that we have now, but we're going to reprioritize in a way that meets the goals and missions that are outlined in A New Day in Hawaii.
Are you seeing some level of growth out of the economy's recovery? The Council of Revenue is generating, their projections are for recovery of state revenue. Are you expecting that? I mean, do you depend on that? Or when you talk about there's enough money there, is it just, well, we think the money's in the existing budget, or are you anticipating that there will be some money available as the economy?
Well, precisely because we don't want to be accused of manipulating the numbers or citing numbers that suit our convenience, we're using exactly the numbers, the projections that any governor, including Governor Lingle and Lieutenant Governor Iona, and the legislature or anyone contemplating programs are going to use. It involves a combination of the Council on Revenues, which is part of the guiding source for the governor's projections, and the Economic Research Organization at the University of Hawaii, and the best estimates and projections of the people who are counted on to form the foundation for policy in the future in the banks and the financial institutions and the other organizations that have to project a budget for themselves. So these numbers here are, I think, a sober and serious projection of the dollars that are likely to be expected. Of course, some disaster could come, or some a good thing could happen. We could re-elect a Democratic Congress, for example, that will actually help the president, and then we'll be able to move these numbers even in a more positive range.
Are you anticipating that one of the first places it will have to go, though, is to restore state workers to their full hours? And how much do you think that will be, and how much is that cutting into what you can do?
Well, I think we have to restore to the full mission. It's less a question of hours than it is of capacity to do the job. You'll notice in the new day here, we say we want a team with the existing workers. Both Brian and myself, in fact, I believe every candidate for lieutenant governor and governor on the Democratic side said that perhaps the greatest untapped resource we have is the public employee. Instead of making enemies out of the public employees, what we want to do is team with them and say, look, here's the dollars that we have, here's the mission that we have, let's work together to see to it that we can accomplish that. As recently as this morning, I was speaking with Governor Ariyoshi about precisely this activity. Let's go back a little bit in history. You recall that there was an oil crisis in the mid to late 70s at the very time when Governor Ariyoshi had responsibility. There was a recession around the time of President Reagan coming into office. So the Governor Ariyoshi and the Democratic legislature at that time, of which I was a part, had to deal with those questions. We worked with the public employees to see to it that we didn't have to do furloughs, we didn't have to do layoffs. We got the job done, the mission was accomplished. That requires not a confrontational attitude, but an attitude of cooperation where we work together to see to it that the public interest is accomplished. We believe we can do that.
The dollars in like fiscal year 11, for instance, if you're saying that would mean not having furloughs anymore, the swing would put at least that year into the red and get fiscal year 12 close. Or are you saying you think that the cooperation would get them
what I'm saying is
bring down their rate of pay?
Yeah, well, no.
What's the dollar solution?
Well, the dollar solution is the people solution. This is not a question of dollars. It's a question of values and priorities. What we're doing and what we're saying here, these are the numbers upon which any responsible executive has to make decisions. When we're elected on November 2nd, that means on November 3rd, we have to begin taking responsibility for the formal inauguration, which is a month later. A month after that, you have to have a budget before the legislature and programmatic proposals before the legislature. What we're saying is, as responsible individuals with authority and obligation, is you take the figures with which you are presented, don't argue with them, but say, within the confines of those numbers, we intend to establish the following priorities, which we've outlined in the New Day for Hawaii, that plan, and here's how we intend to do it through the recovery and reinvestment proposals. Now, how that works out in terms of budgetary allocations, how that works out in terms of programmatic support is dependent on the dollars that are there. And that's exactly what we're going to use. We intend to be responsible, sober, and serious about it.
Earlier today, Duke Ayala said it was arrogant and disrespectful that you also took time off after the primary win and recharged those batteries. What do you think about that? And are you taking Duke Ayala seriously?
I don't understand what the question is. I'm not quite sure what your question is.
Duke Ayala said that it was
arrogant.
Yes. Taking time off and not taking, going full steam after the primary into the general election, especially when there was 45 days left. Basically taking the time off. He said it's arrogant on your behalf and disrespectful to the voters if you're not going at it full steam into the general.
I would think that Lieutenant Governor Iona ought to take a look in the mirror. Apparently the Lingle-Iona administration has taken time off for the last 7.5 years. I can't take remarks like that very seriously, but I can take seriously the wreckage of the Lingle-Iona administration when somebody says that trying to deal with the difficulties and challenges facing children is pie in the sky. What that means is you have an administration utterly barren of any ideas. This team, Abercrombie and Schatz, is out there ready to go on day one. I suggest that the Lieutenant Governor show us his recovery and his reinvestment plan for the failures of the Lingle administration. Isn't it a little late in the day for the Lieutenant Governor to now inquire as to what our plans are for the next 8 years when he's had 8 years to implement something, and apparently he thinks that significant changes have to be made. He's not going to make them. He didn't make them. The Abercrombie Schatz team will.
He issued this today, too, putting the jobs and the economy, debating the issues side by side, his plans versus your plans together. He also says that he's been trying to sit down with you and talk about these issues, but has been unsuccessful in that. You haven't returned his call, he says. So, he basically issued this, putting it side by side.
Well, look, I think, Lieutenant Governor Iona is sort of trying every campaign trick in the book. A couple of weeks ago, he was alleging that Neil Abercrombie, of all people, didn't want to debate Duke Iona, which to me was laughable on its face. But, what people are sick of is politicians attacking each other. What they want is politicians, leaders, who are willing to attack the problems that people are facing. This is silly season, but we're in a very serious time, and we have challenges: clean energy, early childhood education, a lack of economic opportunity, and the idea that Duke Iona's solution to this is to try to poke us in the eye. It's not about us. It's not about him. It's about what people are facing every day.
Last question. Character is always an issue for both. The person is an issue for both. And I kind of like to get your reaction to three things that Duke Iona had done in the last 2 weeks. One was the debate thing you mentioned, where he said you're dodging, and then he said, oh, I don't even know PITV has a debate, and then that day he accepted the debate. The other one was the flu shot thing, right? Where he first supports flu shots, then says, I don't get flu shots, and then goes and gets flu shots. And then the last was, again today, he takes credit for the CIP program that the state legislature and the governor together came up with as a stimulus program. And I'm just wondering, what do those three things say to you about his character, those kinds of...
Well, I can't comment on Lieutenant Governor's character. He's a very fine man. He's as he says, a father of four. He's dedicated. He's been a judge, and that requires a sober and serious attitude towards the world. Having been a probation officer myself, an officer of the court, I recognize that. I try to respect the office. I try to respect the office that I'm running for by paying attention to what people have told me. We've been in a conversation for months with people. These plans that we have put forward, whether it's the vision for a new day in Hawaii or whether it's the recovery and reinvestment plan that Brian and I propose to the voting electorate as they determine who they're voting for, that has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with respect for the office and why we're running. We're not running for ourselves. We're running for the children. We're running for the future. That's what we're aiming at. And I don't think that people are interested at all in my evaluation of another candidate. I think they're interested in their evaluation of whether our proposals and our plans are something that are going to move their families and their futures and their communities forward.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Good work, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. Should we adjourn your office? You're an officer in your office.
You're telling me. I think that's as close as we get. Tell me about it.
So?
Daily calls? Oh, there's been polls.